Hello, Vortex. I hate it when people are behind me. It makes me more self-conscious than I am already. And I already know that my driving is bad. You don't have to tell me, but I can tell that you're angry. Most people flash their lights at me because I don't drive fast enough. It's understandable. This world is very accelerated. Should I join the Amish community? That's to be debated. Don't think I haven't considered it. I just don't vibe with this world. Would I vibe better with this world in a different time period? Probably not. Think about that a lot. How everything that I've got was because of other things that were here before me. And, you know, that's true of life in general, that's true of human experience, that's true of world history. But what the fuck is history? You tell me. But please don't try to sell me anything, 'cause that's what everybody does. They just want to make something out of nothing, or they want to make nothing out of something, or they want to turn this thing into that thing, into that thing, into that thing, into that thing, into that thing. And whatever this is, adlibbed. I know it's good, I know I'm talented. But what is it exactly? It's jamming. That's it. It's jamming. But it's funny because we do this, right? It's very entertaining. I got so many things going for me, going for me, going for me, as you can see. We are just fine being strange. So many people are so afraid of things that will never change. I don't understand it, I'll never understand it. I've spent my whole life trying to understand it, 'cause that's all I can do. That's all I can do. Yeah, that's all I can do. Sorry, I just spent some time with songwriters and I guess it inspired me. It's like, this is pretty damn good. No, I mean, it's good. Like, I need to do that more often. So there was some bitch with blue hair covered in tattoos that loved my comedy. And here's the thing. She kept talking during other people's sets. Well, she was drunk, though. Yeah. I don't think she would have done that had she not been intoxicated. Because she's very respectful. Yeah, well, she's a songwriter. But she's very talented, though, man. Very, very talented. She went up and did comedy for the first time. And, I mean, it was actually pretty good for, like, her first time, even though it wasn't funny. It's fine. Like, you don't have to be funny. I've said this. I said this tonight. You do not have to be funny in order to do stand-up. But she was, like, really, really supportive. And she said that her dad was schizophrenic. So, that makes sense. I'm pretty sure she's borderline personality. Well, there are two sides to that illness. So there's like the really terrible side of it, that everybody knows about, that's real erratic. But then there's the other side of it that's a lot more internalized, where you're really emotional, but you understand why you're emotional, rather than just blaming everybody else for it, which is why it's closer to schizophrenia. But it's rightfully labeled quiet borderline, because we're quiet to everybody. But we talk to ourselves like all the time. See, I studied borderline personality, and then I became convinced there was this other illness that was separate, that would have like a different diagnosis, because our experience... Oh, those people were doing drugs over there. Church parking lot after midnight. Yeah, we know what's going on. We used to do that shit too. And we still do drugs, we just don't do them in the church parking lot, because that's fucked up. Right? Yeah, just find other places to do drugs. But yeah, I used to be that little rebel badass that was getting high and fornicating in church parking lots. Sometimes I would skip the AA meeting and just have sex with somebody from the meeting. Just let you know, like, the past life that I have to lament over, okay? But anyway, yeah, so I spent some time talking to this songwriter, and then I was listening to her, and it was her birthday tonight, and she was there with her friends, like a bunch of other songwriters, and they were so fucking good, dude. And it inspired me. It gave me hope. But, like, nobody was recording it, you know? Nobody had their phones out and they were recording it. It's just like people were just jamming. And I got to admit this right now, before I forget, that, you know, real life humbles me. Because as much as I rant and rave about the internet, like, I fall victim to that shit too. I mean, that's why I rant and rave about it, because if I can fall into the same traps that I'm totally aware of and bitch about all the time, then yeah, it's such a bad thing, man. Because you forget that reality is still over here, you know? Like, there's still real people living their real lives, and it's not just like a fucking Twitter feed, you know? And like, I think that that's why it's such a dangerous thing, because it like has you totally immersed in this other realm of existence that's, you know, it might have perks to that. You know, you can accomplish things, and it's easier and quicker and more efficient, I guess, in certain regards. But in other regards, it seems very, like, counterproductive, as well as counterintuitive to be involved in that world for too long, because it corrodes your idea of yourself and your idea of like what's really going on. Well, you know, what you were saying before about how it magnifies things, like it doesn't create anything that isn't there, it just brings stuff up to the surface. So that's why people are reacting to things the way that they are, is because things are magnified. So they can't not react like that, you know? And only like a mental ill, such as myself, like only we could see through that. And the reason why I say that is because of things that I've aforementioned about the way that my brain works and how we already like think of things pictures, you know? Like, we understand the power of pictures. We understand the power of, like, slogans and phrases and social norms and symbols and, like, all that stuff. You know, a couple years ago, we read this book by Carl Jung that was all about symbolism in culture. And I really wish that, like, I could remember things. It's crazy the stuff that I do remember versus the stuff that I don't. But, like, I know that I've read some really good books. I'll tell you that. I've read them, and I know that they were good. But I don't remember shit else about them, okay? Like, what was that one by, was it Mark Twain? Catcher in the Rye? I remember reading that. I don't think Catcher in the Rye was Mark Twain. J.D. Salinger, I think, was the author of that. Who knows? I mean, we can look it up when we get home because we have that book on the bookshelf somewhere. It's one of the few that we actually have read. Yeah, that was a really good book. But we don't remember anything about it. We just know that the lead character was a rebel, okay? But anyway, what was I? No, I like the other one you were doing. It was really simple. It was way more simple than whatever you're trying to do right now. That was probably it. Yeah, you know, they told me with the songwriters night, they said it's really, really supportive that everybody sits and listens to each other. Well, that makes sense, though. The songwriting seems kind of emo in a way. Even if it's not emo, like, it's emotional, and I'm sure a lot of comedy is emotional. But that's the whole thing about it. They don't want you to know. Well, I don't mind showcasing everything that I deal with inside of my mind. I don't mind being a sacrifice. I don't mind putting myself on the line. All to help somebody understand themselves a little bit better. All to help somebody remember, don't kill yourself. Or maybe to somebody else, yeah, you should totally kill yourself. I'm kidding. They're never in the audience. They can't handle my shit. They probably wouldn't be in anybody's audience. Cause they're too chicken shit. Most people can't handle the truth, especially about themselves. And if you think about it in relation to politics, everything is an extension of yourself, which is why people get so offended. They get so upset. If you have a different opinion, if you have a different perspective, they get very upset. Because they take it personally. How dare you not agree with me? Like I've said before, if you agreed with you, this wouldn't be a problem. But I don't think that you do. Cause I don't think you know what you believe. If you did, you probably wouldn't wear your heart on your sleeve. I I don't know if that's a heart, though. I think it's just emotional instability that they wear. What is that smell, dude? Government shit? Yeah, more than likely. More than likely. Anyway. Yeah, stand-up comedy, I think, is like the exact opposite of whatever they say songwriters night is. Because it's like hazing, okay? The reason why people respect me so much in the comedy scene is because they know that I put up with so much shit. So, I'm also pretty weird, and there's not really like avant-garde comedy anymore. It's, you know, very homogenized, very, non-threatening, you know? So, comedy is the truest art form, but people are so afraid to embrace their authentic self. But if you think about it, how can we really embrace that, like, when everybody is just on the phone all the time, or watching TV? It's just like the more and more commercialized everything is, the less creative people are going to be, because they just don't see the various loopholes and the various, you know, secret passageways, you know, shit like that. Like, if you actually live your life and you have really good life experience, and by good life experience I mean bad life experience, okay? Experience that you can draw from and help other people with. Like, you can see certain things, you can understand a lot. It gives you wisdom. And I feel like that's the thing, people don't have time for wisdom. They want to get famous. But, you know, I don't think that it's like just people being terrible. It's like if the culture's terrible, like, the people are gonna follow. And if you don't have enough of them pushing back on it, then that means that, like, the majority of people are just gonna go along with it. Because that's what sheep do. You know? That's why people are so shocked, like, oh, 20 years ago, this wouldn't have been possible. They wouldn't have been able to get away with this. This would have been so crazy a long time ago, but now it's like totally commonplace. Yeah, because the culture has changed. And it's been an incremental process. So it couldn't have happened all at once, and you would have noticed it and been like, fuck this. You know? It had to happen slowly but surely. And now you're mad at yourself because you didn't pay attention this whole time like we have? I'm just saying. I've always known that this country is shit. Like, ever since I was a kid, I could never understand, like, why people were, like, putting this country up on a pedestal, aside from, like, you know, the whole freedom thing. Well, you know, it seems better, you know, to not have, like, the government knocking on your door for any fucking reason. And I know that that happens in other countries more than it does this country. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen in this country. They just don't talk about it. But I don't know. I just think a lot about how people could have been so much better. Like, they could be legit happy, man. If they would just renounce everything they've ever been told. It's like, I'm so fucking grateful that I didn't take advice. And I just went with myself, and I was like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm gonna keep smoking weed. And I'm just gonna work at this shitty restaurant. And I remember when I first discovered Steak and Shake, I was like so stoked. You know, even though it was like a really, really grueling job, because when I started there, it was 24 hours, and I was working like 15-hour shifts. But it was a good thing for me because it made me realize that I had a really, really strong work ethic. And I am amazing at multitasking. So even though I'm very masculine in certain ways, and logical in the way that I approach things, I'm not erratic. Like, no matter how psychotic I have been in the past, it's like I always knew that I was psychotic. Well, I guess that's not psychotic then. It's neurotic. It's neurotic, but you feel neurotic enough to be considered psychotic. But like, it literally like cancels itself out, because you can't be psychotic and be aware of it at the same time, right? That's why borderline personality is on the borderline of psychosis. So, in case you're dealing with somebody that has borderline personality disorder and they seem like they're overreacting to something, you're like, what the fuck? Just remember, like, they can't help it, man. Like, I was just thinking about how personality disorders and like lack of self-awareness, it really is a disability, and we need to look at it as such. And I mean, it sucks. It sucks for the people dealing with it. Like, it sucks for like the family members of the narcissist. And you know, I was hanging out with this friend of mine and like her boyfriend, and like he was just being so argumentative, like acting like a woman, you know, like doing the type of like, you know, feminine behavior. Like, I'm gonna pick apart things that you say, and nothing that you say is ever gonna satisfy me, and then if you're really quiet, I'm gonna get mad about that too, you know? Like, and I've been around both of them so many different times that I know that, you know how much I don't like females, but it's not her, man. It's not her. It's 100% him. Because she's aware of the fact that she's fucked up. You know, like she says she's got bipolar disorder or whatever the fuck. But like, yeah, she's aware that she has these mood swings and all that. I mean, I work with her. Like, I've seen them. But that's the thing with mental illness. I really think you can go either way. So, say you have a shitty childhood. That shitty childhood either entitles you and leaves you feeling indignant and self-righteous about whatever you experienced and the way that you should be treated in the future. So that's narcissism, okay? Or what it does is increase your empathy, and it helps you to understand that there's always something that's going on in somebody's head. There's always things that people have on their mind that they're not talking about. And so I gotta say, like, I'm really grateful to be on that side of it, because I see the other side of it. I see, like, you know, people that, and you know, I'm it's not fair for me to speculate on anything that happened to them, but it's like, you know, I stick by this theory that I have, though, about how the less you've been through, the more you think you've been through, you know? Versus people that have, like, really had a hard time, and you never know it. So, but, you know, I don't think people are all bad or all good. We all have, you know, the capability of being either. It's just that, you know, a lot of people choose to be bad, but sometimes they don't even realize it, though. And that's what I'm saying about the lack of self-awareness and how that's a disability. And so, you know, when you're dealing with a narcissist, or you're dealing with somebody who's got, I don't know, histrionic personality or some shit, and they're acting crazy or flying off the handle over something silly, just know that that behavior is not going to change, and it doesn't matter if you draw attention to it, they're not going to be able to take criticism. Not only that, but if they're not motivated to change or to look at things in a way that would not paint them as a victim, that can continue to get away with the same shitty ass behavior where they manipulate situations and hurt everybody around them because they think, oh, poor me, you know? If they're not willing to accept the fact that they can't do that anymore, then, you know, I don't want to say they're hopeless or they're terrible people, but it's just like, yeah, they're like disabled. You know, they've disabled themselves because their lack of self-awareness, you know, it prohibits them from being able to grow and advance to something that's better than just consistently playing the victim about everything. So, how the fuck did we get on this topic, though? I don't know, man. Oh, we're talking about borderline personality or something? Whew, yeah. No, but the more I think about it, though, I think that there's people that kind of fall in the middle of, like, having awareness of how fucked up things are, but also, like, being of the world. And it's like, at some point you're gonna have to make a choice. Do I want to go along with the world, or do I want to go along with my spirit? And sadly, I think that most people will choose the world, because they just don't know how awesome the kingdom is.